and welcome to part 4 of my Japanese for Beginners series. By the end of this video, you will be able to ask some simple questions in Japanese. This lesson corresponds with page 43 of Genki Volume 1 textbook, so if you have that, you can follow along, but even if you don't have the Genki textbook, this video will still make perfect sense.
では始めましょう。
So in the last couple videos, we learned about the model sentence x wa y des or x1 wa x2 des. So in x1 wa x2 des, we're talking about a noun is another noun, like my mom is a college student. In x wa y des, we're talking about a noun and an adjective. So we're saying a noun is an adjective, like the sky, a noun is blue, an adjective. So here's the cool thing about Japanese. In English, if we're changing the sentence to the sky is blue to a question, we have to rearrange the order of the words in the sentence to is the sky blue? With Japanese, if you want to make it a question, all you have to do is add ka to the end of the sentence. Isn't that beautiful? It's really easy to ask questions in Japanese. So this works for our model sentence x wa y desu ka, it also works for x1 wa x2 desu ka, but it also works for just single words by themselves. You can just do noun desu ka, and you're asking a question. So doll is ningyo, so ningyo desu ka would be, is this a doll? My shirt, if I like point at it and I go aoi desu ka, I'm like asking, is this blue? Basically. So you can make longer sentences connecting a word with another word and asking a question, or you can make a complete sentence by just word desu ka. So I'm going to also briefly touch upon how you might answer some of these questions. We learned in actually the first video of the series that hai means yes and iie means no. Although I did mention that in Japanese culture, they tend to be a little more vague, especially when you're saying no. You usually don't say no outright. So if you want to respond in the affirmative, like, yes, this shirt is blue, you would say, hai, so desu. That means, yes, that is so. Yes, that is correct. So desu means that is so, or yes, basically. Or if you're asking me, is the shirt blue? I could say, hai, blue desu. Hai, aoi desu. If you want to add a modifier to that, like it is very blue, it's a little bit blue. Totemo is very. So if I wanted to say, yes, it's very blue, I would say, hai, totemo aoi desu. If I wanted to say it's a little blue, I would say, hai, skoshi aoi desu. Sukoshi means a little, or I'd say, chotto aoi desu. It's a little bit blue. If you ask me, is your shirt purple? I would answer, iie aoi desu. So iie is no. It's like, no, it's not purple, it's blue. We'll learn in a future video how to say something is not purple, but for now, just answer iie, or you can answer iie, it is something else. Then the very Japanese culture-y part, if you're answering a question and it's kind of an uncomfortable question to answer, like if somebody asks you, how's your relationship with your father? The appropriate response wouldn't be like, oh, we have a very toxic relationship and he always, lectures me about how I don't have the right job or anything or whatever. Like, no, you wouldn't say that, especially with people you don't know very well. So in that case, you would be polite and vague. You would say, それはちょっと. So that それはちょっと means, that's a little bit difficult for me to answer or talk about. Another useful expression is ma desu, which means so-so. So now that you know ways of asking questions and ways of answering questions, I'm going to give you guys a few model questions that you can memorize. The first one is, sensei wa o genki desu ka? So sensei, you probably all know, it means teacher. However, it usually doesn't mean like teacher as a noun, it means teacher more as a title. So I would probably be asking this to my teacher, and sensei is a way of addressing her with respect. So sensei wa o genki desu ka? So o genki desu ka is a very common phrase. It didn't come up in my aisatsu video, the first video I did in the series where I went over like common everyday polite phrases. But o genki desu ka means how are you doing? It literally means Genki, the name of the textbook that this series is based off of. Genki, it's one of those hard to translate words that means cheerful, lively, but it also means healthy and well. So o genki desu ka? If you add the o before genki, it makes it polite. So are you feeling well? Are you feeling cheerful? Are you feeling healthy is what that literally means. But in better English, it's how are you? And then your sensei might answer, genki desu. So is another way of saying yes, and it's yes, it's less like hai is more like It has that kind of vibe to it, whereas is kind of softer and smoother, but still polite. So she might answer, genki desu. Now notice I dropped the o on the genki when she's talking about herself, because you don't typically want to be polite when you're talking about yourself. You want to be polite and respectful when you're talking to or other people, but when you're talking like about yourself, you don't usually use the honorifics like o or san when you're talking about yourself. So, genki desu. Yes, I'm well, thank you. So, throwback to the last video I did in this series, sora wa aoi desu ka? I taught sora wa aoi desu, which means the sky is blue. So, sora wa aoi desu ka is the sky blue? So if I were asked that question right now, it is in fact the winter solstice. Happy solstice, everyone who celebrates. And I'm recording this video at 6:30 p.m. on the winter solstice, so the sky is most certainly not blue. So if somebody asked me right now, sora wa aoi desu ka? I would answer, iie, sora wa kuroi desu. Or I could answer with, iie, kuroi desu. So note, I don't have to do the complete sentence of the sky is black. I can just say, it's black. And the same rule applies if you're speaking English. Like if I were having the same conversation with someone in English and they asked me, is the sky blue? I wouldn't answer, no, the sky is black. I'd sound like a textbook, and that's weird. I would say, no, it's black. So it's the same in Japanese. You don't have to like include every single word that was in the original sentence when you're answering the question. Tomodachi wa otaku desu ka? So for most of you watching this video, the answer is probably yes. So tomodachi is friend, and then otaku, in the anime community in the West, we use otaku to refer to anime nerds specifically, but otaku just means nerd, geek in general. So, tomodachi wa otaku desu ka? It means either it really just literally means, is friend nerd? There are no pronouns in there, but depending on context, this would probably mean, is your friend a nerd? Or are your friends nerds? Or are his friends nerds? Again, we'd need some context to know for sure, but default, it would probably mean, is your friend a nerd or are your friends nerds? In my case, hai, otaku desu. Minna otaku desu. Everyone's a nerd. Okay, here's a simple sample dialogue where I'm just going, why desu ka? And then, hai, why desu? So, nemui desu ka? Nemui means sleepy. So the first question is, are you sleepy? And the answer is, yes, I'm sleepy. Notice there's no pronouns again. Japanese often omits pronouns, which is not at all confusing to beginners who are learning the language. So if you wanted to put the pronouns in there, you could say, anata wa nemui desu ka? And then you could answer, hai, watashi wa nemui desu. That would literally be, are you sleepy? And you'd be literally answering, yes, I am sleepy. But they usually omit the pronouns. It's a little like confrontational to be very pronoun-y in Japanese. They tend to leave them out. But that's just to demonstrate that you can make complete sentences with just a word and desu ka and a word and des. It doesn't have to be multiple words with a wa in there to be a sentence. Yagami raito wa kira desu ka? So this is for you Death Note fans. Yagami Raito, Yagami Light, it's the name of the anti-hero of the series Death Note. And then Kira is the name that they assigned his alter ego, this mysterious force that was just causing a bunch of people to mysteriously have heart attacks and die. So they started calling him Kira, which is kind of like the Japanese version of killer. So the question is Light Yagami killer or Kira? And the answer is yes. Hai, kira desu. Yoru wa nagai desu ka? Yoru is night and nagai is long. So again, today is the winter solstice. So hai, yoru wa nagai desu. Hi wa mijikai desu ka? Hi is day, and then mijikai is short. So I'm kind of asking the same question, just using different words. Are days short, or is the day short? And again, because it's the winter solstice, I would say, hai, totemo mijikai desu. Yes, very short. Here's a trick question. Natsu wa samui desu ka? So this depends on what hemisphere you live in, and it also depends on like what country you live in, because natsu is summer and samui is cold. So the question is summer cold? Is summertime cold? Are summers cold? And that really depends on where you live. If you're in like New Zealand or Australia or something, like, yes, summer is cold if you're talking about summers in June or July, summer. But yeah, if you're living in remote northern Norway, summer might also be cold. So that varies from where you live. So, 夏は寒いですか? Anime song wa dasai desu ka? So dasai means lame, just dorky, lame. An anime song, that is anime song, but it's written in katakana, so because it's borrowed words. You may have noticed that also with kira for light yagami, and also light in his name because it's a borrowed word, light. They write it in katakana. I'm going to have a whole other video about English katakana words later. But anyway, anime songu means anime song. Also, sometimes they shorten that by removing a couple of the characters. So they remove the third character from each word, anime and songu. They remove the me and the gu, and it's just anisom. But anisom or anime songu wa dasai desu ka? So are anime songs lame? I don't think they're lame. I would say iie kakkoi desu. Like, no, they're cool. Okay, and here's a really, really useful sentence. You will want to be asking this a lot to Japanese people if you're visiting them in Japan and you're looking at everything. Kore wa nan desu ka? It's a little confrontational, it's a little direct for Japanese people, but it's okay if you're direct as a foreigner. They expect you to be direct. So kore wa nan desu ka means, what is this? Kore is this. You might remember from kore wa pen desu. I don't have a pen with me right now. Huh? So unprepared. But anyway, kore wa pen desu is this is a pen. Kore wa nan desu ka is what is this? This is what. Nan is what. So quick note, it only works if you're asking a question about something that you are either holding in your hands or like you physically are pointing at that is close to you. You can't like point to something across the street and be like, kore wa nan desu ka? That's bad grammar. If you want to learn more about the nuances of that, I have a video, a nice shiny video going over the koso ado words. And even in sequence in the Genki series, it's just a few lessons ahead of this one. So it's totally cool to skip ahead and check out koso ado. So that you can learn more about why you wouldn't point across the street and call it kore wa nan desu ka. But kore wa nan desu ka for something that's close to you. What is this? Soma shigure wa ikemen desu ka? So, it's for your Fruit Basket fans. Soma shigure is a character from Fruits Basket. And then ikemen, it's a fun little like borrowed word that was made of a Japanese word combined with an English word, and it's all in katakana. So ikemen means hottie, but specifically hot guy. And the way they got the word is ike. It's like iketeru, which is kind of Japanese slang for he's got it going on, he's good, he can make it. Like it's kind of hard to translate, but like, yeah, iketeru. And then men comes from the English word men or man, which is funny because they use ikemen as a singular and as a plural. So it's like you call a single man men. It's weird. That's borrowed English words for you. Anyway, ikemen is hot guy. So is Shigure Soma a hot guy? And my answer would be, hai, ikemen desu. Yuki wa shiroi desu ka? Yuki is snow and shiroi is white, so is snow white? Unless you pee on it, yeah. Tempura wa youshoku desu ka? Tempura, you probably know what that is. It's tempura. Youshoku means Western cuisine. So if you look at the kanji, I'm going to put kanji on the screen for once. By the way, y'all should be learning hiragana on your own. If I don't already have it up now, I'm going to have it up soon, a hiragana video for you to practice your hiragana. Otherwise, there's charts everywhere, there's apps. Just learn hiragana as soon as you can because pretty soon I am only going to be doing kanji and hiragana instead of hiragana and romaji because this hiragana only system that I have right now is very confusing for me. But you want to get rid of your romaji crutch as soon as you possibly can and learn hiragana. Anyway, so youshoku, if you look at the kanji that I have right up here, so the yo is Western and shoku is food or cuisine. So youshoku means Western cuisine. If you change the yo to wa, that means Japanese. So washoku is Japanese cuisine. So tempura wa youshoku desu ka is tempura Western cuisine. That's a trick question because it kind of had Western influences, but I say it's Japanese. So I would say iie washoku desu. Apato wa yasui desu ka? Apato, another borrowed word. What do you think it means? I'm going to give you 5 seconds. It means apartment. Yasui means cheap or inexpensive. So is the apartment, your apartment, my apartment cheap? So if you asked me, apato wa yasui desu ka? I would answer, yeah, totemo takai desu, because I live in Washington. The cost of living is really high here. So before we review everything we learned in this video, I want to tell you guys about my new Patreon tier that I created for supporting this Japanese for Beginners series specifically. I do have the $19 a month tier that I call Juku. That is a very hardcore, intense training where once a week you get a study guide that includes all of the information I cover on these videos and more. And then every day, Tuesday through Friday, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you get 4 total worksheets per week that correspond to the series, and then I will correct the worksheets and give them back to you with notes. So it's kind of like having your own private tutor a little bit. So that's for $19 a month. But if that is too rich for your blood and you still want to support the Genki series, you can support me now for the $2 level. That's the Genki level. And at this level, you get just the study guides, just the weekly study guides. So that alone is a pretty good value. It's pretty much what I cover in these videos, but it's in written form, so you can see it all there. And again, there is some information in the study guides that I don't cover in these videos, so there's a little additional information. And the more patrons I get at the $2 and $19 levels, the more frequently I'm going to be making these Japanese for Beginners videos. So keep that in mind. So now for review, I'm going to say each of the model sentences that I taught earlier 3 times, and I'm going to leave pauses in between each time that I say the sentence so that you can repeat the sentence out loud. Please don't skip this part. I know that it might seem weird, repeating sentences when I'm not even in your room really with you, but this is the one area where most people who learn a second language really struggle and just suffer, and where they really lack. They can't, they can understand the other language, they can write the other language, they can read the other language, but they can't speak it. And I'm in this boat too, actually, by the way, because I do a lot of reading when I translate Japanese every day. I do a lot of writing, and not as so much writing in Japanese, but I do some writing in Japanese. I do a lot of listening in Japanese, but I barely ever speak in Japanese, pretty much only when I'm making these videos or when I'll occasionally monologue to myself in Japanese just to see if I can still do it. So really, this is important to actually say these phrases out loud. So don't skip this part. Sensei wa o genki desu ka? Sensei wa o genki desu ka? Sensei wa o genki desu ka? Genki desu. 元気です。元気です。空は青いですか？空は青いですか？空は青いですか？いいえ、空は黒いです。いいえ、空は黒いです。いいえ、空は黒いです。友達はオタクですか？友達はオタクですか？友達はオタクですか？眠いですか？眠いですか？ 眠いですか？鏡ライトはキラーですか？鏡ライトはキラーですか？鏡ライトはキラーですか？夜は長いですか？夜は長いですか？夜は長いですか？日は短いですか？日は短いですか？日は短いですか？夏は寒いですか？夏は寒いですか？夏は寒いですか？アニメソングはダサいですか？アニメソングはダサいですか？アニメソングはダサいですか？これは何ですか？これは何ですか？これは何ですか？相馬しぐれはイケメンですか？ I mean, you can insert the name of any guy you're asking about. But, ブラッド・ピットはイケメンですか？相馬しぐれはイケメンですか？雪は白いですか？雪は白いですか？雪は白いですか？天ぷらは洋食ですか？天ぷらは洋食ですか？天ぷらは洋食ですか？いいえ、和食です。いいえ、和食です。いいえ、和食です。アパートは安いですか？アパートは安いですか？アパートは安いですか？いいえ、とっても高いです。いいえ、とても高いです。いいえ、とても高いです。Thanks for watching! If you felt like that was a little too easy for you and you're more at the intermediate level, go ahead and check out my Learn Japanese by Singing series or my Watch Sailor Moon Learn Japanese series. The links to those are in the video description below. Also, thank you to my patrons for keeping this series going and for keeping me going. And I'll see you next week with another video. Mata ne!